Through 14 games, he was the NFL's 5th leading rusher.
We had talked, if he's in the top 5 in rushing, we'll renegotiate his contract. We got 2 games left.
Well, it was the night before the game. It was a team meeting, and I've always been a stickler for being on time, okay? Marshall, at times, would just cut it close to being there. He'd be there on time, but it wasn't like he was there 10 minutes early or 5 minutes early.
The team meeting starts at 8:30. I've walked into every meeting about 8:27 to 8:28. At 8:25, while I'm sitting outside, Jim Moore stops the special teams meeting and starts the team meeting.
By my watch, he's late. I said, Marshall, you're late. Oh, I'm not late. You know, it's kind of like that, if I recall it. I said, you're late.
He goes on one of his rants about being late, and that's why we're not playing well, and, you know, this is why you can't win games. I was like, Coach, I'm not late. Shut up, you talk too much, yada, yada, yada. He keeps going off, and I'm like, where is this coming from?
I'm not going to treat him any different because he's Marshall Faulk. And maybe some other coach would have said, oh, it's okay, go on in there. You're only 15 seconds late. Not me. I don't care who it was. If they were late, they're late.
And then you're not starting.
Faulk was benched for the first quarter. In the fourth, he lost the ball and the Colts blew a 13-point lead. Faulk finished with a season-low 19 rushing yards and ended the season outside the top 5 by 13. The Colts refused to renegotiate his contract.
I think the relationship became somewhat torn to the point where it was unrepairable. And I told him, I said, look, I'm gonna get you out of here. I thought he would be excited, and he was very disappointed. And he said, you don't understand. He said, I think they're building something very special here. I think Peyton's gonna be good. And I told him, I said, look, I'm trying to get you to a better team. I wanted to get him on grass, somewhere where it's warm, West Coast. And I was 0 out of 4.
Faulk was traded to a team in Middle America with cold weather, played on turf, and had not had a winning season in a decade. In 1998, Marshall Faulk played alongside Peyton Manning. Faulk had his finest season, but the Colts finished 3-13.
I felt like I had paid my dues there and I deserved a new contract, and they felt like I didn't. You know, you never want to leave. I thought I'd finish my career in Indianapolis, but now I'm here and I hope to finish here.
The deal that sent Faulk to St. Louis was made possible by another Hall of Fame running back. In 1987, Eric Dickerson was traded from the Rams to the Colts. 12 years later, he still had connections with both.
I was sitting there talking to Jim Irsay, and he was talking about Marshall. You know, Marshall's a great player, but, you know, he's not big enough to get inside like we like. You know, like you, Eric, you're a big back. And I had a feeling he was thinking about trading. He didn't say that, but I just had a feeling that he might think about trading him. So I talked to John Shaw. John is always a why guy. Well, why should we do this? I said, John, I said, first of all, you have no name recognition for the Rams. I said, he would give you name recognition. He's a Pro Bowl player. He's a well-known player in the NFL. I said, and I think he would really help the team. He said, well, they're talking about trading him. I said, I talked to his agent said yes.
We were at the owners' meetings in March, and John Shaw came to me, our president, and said, Dick, you know, the word's out that Marshall Faulk is available for a trade. Jim Mora was the head coach of the Colts. Of course, we worked together and had remained friends, so I started talking with Jim about it.
If I knew we weren't going to have Marshall, and Dick Vermeil, a friend of mine, called me and said, what about Marshall Faulk? I would have endorsed him. I would have said, hey, this guy's something, he's a special player, and he's not a problem as far as I'm concerned.
I'm at my desk, and Dick comes down and says, well, what do you think, what would you think if we get Marshall Faulk? Now, that's not very funny, Dick. Yeah, that's not very funny, because I knew how good he was. You know, everybody knew who Marshall Faulk was, and, you know, here there's the Rams. Rams don't do stuff like that, you know? So this would have been a dream come true, but I didn't put any credence to it. I just figured, how are we going to get him from Indy?
And John asked me, he said, Eric, he said, what do you think we should give for him? I said, I think a 2 and a player would be, I think it'd be a steal.
The Colts packaged Faulk for a 2nd and a 5th round pick. The player they would call Superman had landed in St. Louis, but he hardly looked the part.
There's some guys in the NFL that are physical specimens that you go, that guy's going to be a superstar. Marshall wasn't one of those guys that you looked at outside of pads and said, man, I bet that guy's one of the best athletes that ever played. And I mean, I remember I would bring people into the locker room, and Marshall would be over there sitting in his locker, and they'd look at me and they're like, who's that in Marshall's locker? And I'm like, it's Marshall Faulk. They're like, what? No, that's not Marshall. I'm like, trust me, it's Marshall Faulk.
Faulk signed the richest contract in franchise history. Superman had come to save the day. Instead, the Rams were dealt one of the worst setbacks imaginable.
Trent Green comes in here, the real hope for this offense. We've been talking about him all game and all preseason long.
I have the outside guy, and Rodney came around the edge, and instead of me really being forceful with him, I gave him it's preseason kind of push to the ground.
Now we got Trent Green down. We've got Trent Green down in the middle of the field.
I'm just looking at Trent Green and I'm thinking to myself, wow, that was on me. I'd never gotten someone hurt before. Someone never been hurt on my watch. As teammates do, no, it's not your fault, don't worry about it. And I don't blame it on Rodney. I don't blame it on anything or anyone other than myself, whether it's preseason or not. If I would have done my job, that doesn't happen. I had problems even looking Trent in the eye. Everything is right now on me. I'm thinking to myself, you get your way out of Indianapolis, you leave a Peyton Manning, you get a Trent Green hurt, like what, and now who's your quarterback?
Kurt Warner checks in. Certainly not where Trent Green is and the kind of experience that Green brought to this offense.
Coming up, Faulk at the heart of one of the unlikeliest championship runs in NFL history.
We going to the show, we won it!
When I first got to Indianapolis, the only thing I wanted to do was run the football. I wanted to run the football. That's what running backs did. And then after what I went through to get to St. Louis, having what happened with Trent, I was willing to do whatever they needed me to do, wherever they needed me to line up, sharing the knowledge that I had about what we could do, what I could do, the things that I saw, whatever it was, I was going to help the team win.
Everything that you might have heard in Indy, saw none of that in St. Louis, and he emerged both as a leader on the field, but also in the locker room very, very quickly.
In 1999, the Rams also had a new offensive coordinator.
When you talk about Mike Martz, you think of the crazy offensive scientist in his lab just creating anything and everything. And then you think about the perfect ingredient, the ingredient that makes everything more powerful, and that's Marshall Faulk.
Coach Martz implemented a revolutionary offense that featured Marshall Faulk in multiple formations.
The matchups that you could get with him were just incredible. And then they would put in an extra DB, and that guy was supposed to cover him one-on-one. That's not going to happen. Or blitzes. If we released him, they got to account for him. After a while, they just quit blitzing him. He would defeat the blitz too easily.
Marshall's basic routes where he acts like he's going into the flat and he comes over across the middle on a delay route. Still to this day, we call it the Faulk route, but nobody ran it like Marshall did.
Where do we want him? Where are we going to put him? And how are you going to defend him in all those different spots?
He wasn't faster than a speeding bullet or more powerful than a locomotive, but his physical gifts transformed the Rams from bad to good. His intelligence made them super.
He knew how to get himself ready. He knew how to prepare. He was mentally going to be better than everybody he played against.
As smarter backs I've ever been around in my life, and I've been around some good ones. I know a few that are lawyers right now that played in the league. Yeah, and they were very smart. This guy's smart.
The one thing that he taught me was, first thing a back does when they line up is they look at the safeties for run support. Because if he does break out, he wants to know who's got the run and who he has to beat by himself.
He would manipulate the linebackers or safeties with his eyes. He would look a certain way and stare that way to get them to kind of cheat over, and then he'll go the opposite way.
One play that always stands out for all of us, and we remember it, it's on a couple of our highlight videos, it was in Tennessee. We don't have any timeouts. We're trying to get a field goal and put it into overtime. And I hit Azakim on a throw, and he gets hit, and he's slow getting up. We're all kind of like, get up, just kind of watching him like, come on, we're gonna run out of time.
Well, Marshall, again, being cerebral, knowing what's going on, knowing the surroundings, had the sense of mind to run, pick ours up, help him get lined up, get back to his position, and we clocked it.
Big play! Way to go, Marshall! It's like getting $9 million a year.
Then we move into the protections. He said, I can block this guy, and if that guy comes out, I can get him too, don't worry about it. When they bring this guy, they don't bring these guys over here. Through my film study. Through your film study. So he started that whole trend with backs about what you could do with them in the protection. So there's all those things about playing that position that I thought I kind of knew that I really didn't know.
We call it scan now. Everybody call it scan around the National Football League. It stems from Marshall Faulk going back, getting that guy, or he wrapping around, blocking that extra guy coming.
Those are the little things that most people don't see that we were always in awe of when it came to Marshall, is that he always knew the right thing to do.
In 1999, with Faulk in the backfield, a previously unknown quarterback became league MVP.
Screen pass, Marshall Faulk. He's at the 40.
Faulk caught 87 passes for more than 1,000 yards.
15, cutting right again to the 10, heading to the outside, 5, end zone, touchdown Rams! Yeah!
And ran for nearly 1,400. His 2,429 yards from scrimmage were the most in one season in NFL history.
Let's show them how this game is played.
Right here, baby.
More talent right here than played in this game at any time, right here.
The Rams went from 4-12 and no winning seasons in a decade to the greatest show on turf and the best team in football.
The super season ends with a Super Bowl victory.
Does it feel like you've imagined all these years?
Oh my God, it's better than what I even thought it would ever be.
I reached out to Emmitt Smith because I wanted to know, is it different after you are the champ? What happened?
The year after, Faulk won league MVP and broke Emmitt Smith's record for touchdowns in a season.
And another one.
It became personal for me. I wanted to make sure people knew that we were not a fluke, that we were real.
Listen, do not be afraid of excellence.
In 2001, Faulk chased perfection, even at the end of a 35-0 win.
I have been 4 years without a fumble. 4 years? You have no idea how pissed I am right now. Thank you, man. Sorry about that.
What?
A fumble. I don't fumble, Coach.
Man. I know you don't.
I don't fumble.
Why don't worry about it. I know how bad you took it. It happens. Nobody's perfect.
But I try to come damn close to it, that's all.
I know you do.
The Rams finished with an NFL best 14-2 record and the most points over a 3-year span in NFL history. But in the NFC Championship game, they sputtered. And at the half, they trailed.
When things were tough for us, we were seeing something defensively we were struggling with or couldn't handle. The one thing you know you could do is hand Marshall the ball. And I told him at halftime, we're going to come out and run football. He buckled his helmet up in the locker room. And out the field we go.
Coach Marsh was like, hey, we're gonna come to you, we're gonna come to you, we're gonna come to you some more. Coach Marsh ran him so much. He had snot bubbles in his nose.
Hands to Faulk, up the middle, banging, spinning, is he in? Yes, touchdown!
Game on the line, who we going to? Y'all know who we going to.
In the second half, Faulk carried the ball 22 times and scored 2 touchdowns. He finished the game with 159 rushing yards.
Without Marshall, we're not the greatest show on turf. We're not, in my opinion, the greatest offense that's ever played. He was the difference maker